Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Hollywood or PZCS or Hunter or whatever you know me by. It has been a while since I've made a video and like these tips that I said I was going to do a lot. I haven't had the time to. I've been at LANs and doing online tournaments and working and stuff. So I'm finally back at it, and this is going to be a shorter video, but it's going to kind of give some more tips as to what an IGL can do and ways that you can potentially help your teammates win the game. Um, First off, I'd like to start off by saying something about defaults. So you want to kind of have a default on every map, right? Like on T side, or even CT side, you want to have a default on every map. You want to have a passive default where you kind of spread out, work picks. Especially if you're a slow paying team, you want to have that passive default where you can come together and work off picks after a while. Okay, so you want to have like a kind of a default, and then you're gonna want to spread out, see if anybody's pushing. This is generally for when people are pushing you. And then you want to have a default for like aggression. So like let's just say, so for a passive cache, okay, as an example, you'd want to play one squeaky, one A main, two B main, or two mid main, and then one B main. Like you kind of want to have a spread out core to help your team kind of see if they push, get that advantage, get an early pick, whatever you can do, and then just follow up into a strat. For an aggressive default, you can kind of work the mid aggression, smoke off white box, smoke off Z, and then go out mid together and then push together, Not exactly, it doesn't have to be verbatim like that, like for your passive or aggressive, it's just an example. But yeah, that's basically how defaulting works. You want to make sure you have a good center of gravity that's going to basically come into a strat after, but you want to make sure that you're spread out enough to work these picks and get these picks and give your team the advantage. Counter stratting is another point I wanted to talk about. A lot of teams, especially if you're in the higher tier, you'll be able to pick up demos and watch demos. Even if you're an ESEA Open, if they have demos and you want to be dedicated enough to win Open, I mean, this is something that could work, but you don't necessarily have to do it. But hey, if you like need help, then this could be something that helps you. Download their demo from their game if it's on the same map or like anything like that, and just kind of watch their strats and see how they like to play. Honestly, it's not really scummy. It's more using your resources properly and getting more information that they have on you. So like some people may look at it as scummy, but I look at it as just using your resources properly. Especially if you have like an analyst or something, if you're on like an org, that could always help. But when you counter strat, you want to make sure you're not relying too much on just like having 3 stacked at A, because you never know if they're going to play towards A. This is just on any map, it's just random. But like you don't want to play stack towards one site, because then they could change it up and just fuck you. You never know, and something like that could happen. But always use your resources, right? So like if you can get those demos, like any type of VOD or anything, do it. I mean, honestly, I don't think it's scummy. I think it's very smart. I think it's smart to use your resources. But that's it for counter stratting. Another thing that I'd like to talk about with IGLs is you should be trying to outthink, not out aim. And what I mean by that is you should be using your team on T side or even CT side. You should use your team to their advantages, and just like play off of each other. Make sure there's trade angles, even on the passive default. You want to make sure that you're not like super pushed up and there's no possibility for a trade. You want to make sure you can hold the angle and then fall off, and then one of your teammates is closer to you, can fall off and help you. I think a lot of people try to, like, especially in open, there's a lot of pug teams, you can't out aim them. Like if you're a team, I've seen teams that are 11 RWS average, okay, play against teams that are 15 RWS average and beat them miserably, like 16-5, and it's just because they rely on strats and they rely on takes and they rely on their team play instead of aim, which is another example. My team went to Philadelphia 7-8. We were playing against Roka's team on Mirage, and I think it was like 16-13 was the final score. And they're all centuries ahead of us in aim, or not centuries, but years ahead of us in aim. Like their aim is better than all of us individually, but we relied on our team play on CT side and ended up bringing it back. So that's just one thing you could always look forward to, is just you don't have to have the best aim to do well in matches, because in team play, it's not all reliant on aim. Obviously you need somewhat good aim, but you need to rely more on outthinking and outstratting your opponents. Definitely not just focusing on taking 1v1 duels. Kind of off the back of that, another thing that I was going to talk about was positioning for your team to win and not necessarily you to get good stats. There's a lot of IGLs who are like, oh, okay, well, I had better aim than my teammates. That's great, you might, and that's obviously something you can play off the back of, but what you need to do is put yourself and your team in positions, even if you die first, or like die second. Obviously, you're not going to be playing entry for the IGL. Back to what I was saying in my other video, but that's a long story and it's off topic. But anyway, put your team in positions where they're going to play well and you're going to win the round, not where you're going to get 3 kills. You know, don't bait your team and then just say, oh, well, this is the way. No, that's not how it works, and that's not smart. It's not something you want to do. So always make sure you're with you, like you're kind of with your team unless you're lurking, but IGLing and lurking is hard. It's not easy. Put yourself and your team in a good position. Make sure whenever you on Mirage, you throw smokes over, and make sure you throw those smokes over and you go out whenever they bloom. Make sure you put yourself in good after plants. It's a lot of things like, as an IGL, everybody's like, well, that's not my job to talk about after plants. No, it absolutely is your job. Your after plants are more important, or about as important as the actual strat and the take itself. If your after plants are bad, they can kill you without any trades or any angles being held, and it's just not smart to play that way. So just always make sure you have good positions, after plant, retakes, anything like that. You're the IGL. Your team's going to be looking for you to make that call. You have to make sure whenever you make those defaults and make those strats, you have to make sure that you know where your after plants, who's taking the bomb, all that stuff. Just like make sure your positioning is great and phenomenal, and you'll win a lot more rounds. We actually lost a lot of rounds because our after plant positioning was terrible on Mirage. We fixed that, and now we've been playing better on T-side Mirage, but we're still a little sloppy, and we're gonna fix that. Like I said, take some notes, figure out what you're doing wrong. Watch your own demos, and after you kind of figure out what you're doing wrong, play off the back of it and see what you can help yourself do and see what you can accomplish. It's very easy to watch demos and learn from your mistakes. It's not hard at all. Even if you don't have an analyst and it's just yourself, watch your demo, say, look guys, this is what we did wrong. Maybe even get your team together and do it. But see what you did wrong, and then there you go, you have it. It's really easy to learn from your mistakes, especially when you have something like demos and VODs you can watch almost everywhere. But like I said, guys, this is the second video. It's going to be a little bit shorter. I tried not to ramble as much. Obviously, if you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe. There's going to be more to come. If you didn't like the video, I'm sorry. If there's anything you could critique me on, feel free to do in the comments below. It's not going to hurt my feelings at all. I know I'm not the best IGL, but I do try to give tips to people when I can, especially if they're not as good as an IGL as me. But like I said, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.